Give that. Give them out. Yeah. Can you give every shot like social bird and also sure. No, what every
Yes, well, they reopened the airspace, but we'll let the,
when.
last night.
And that's there's no iron dome, so 300 missiles.
Well, Hashem's the Iron Dome.
Right.
The Iron Dome was not working.
Israel has to work. Knock that off.
What was working?
Yeah,
We got 99%. The American and the French, even Jordan had.
even Jordan.
Is this between us?
Earl,
No, there might see.
Okay, just want to make sure.
nothing to do with
What
that.
happened? Never come in court.
Yeah,
What happened? What?
What they did to Israel.
of course.
Don't worry, they're going to do something this year. Don't worry, you'll see. There's the worst time to start with the Jews is the week before Pesach.
No,
during
no
Pesach.
time, because Hashem doesn't sleep.
Right, but Pesach is when we were redeemed. So I'm telling you right now, the earthquake, the earthquake was 4.8 Richter scale. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the solar eclipse was on April 8th. That's 4.8. Look at 4.8. And then if you look at 4.8, Exodus
I'd like to say everybody's giving
it
drugs.
says in the Torah, it's 4.8.
Everyone, this is touching everyone's heart.
They still need to conquer. That's something new. The Iron Dome.
Okay.
I'm taking it out of five on Tuesday.
And then why?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
4.8. Exodus 4.8. It says when Moses was asking about the size, he said
I
they
don't know
don't
what's
believe
going
on
to
the
be.
side.
So
They believe on the second side. Now we have two
I'll be
sides.
back. I'm going on Tuesday. I have a short stop over at Grove. So I
Where you
don't,
going?
yeah, so I don't know what's gonna be.
So when that
Stop over road and then direct.
Yeah.
the boys some spicy honey.
The
Well,
Bacharim.
we can do.
Somebody.
It's not only in.
Okay, good morning. Ayom Kotzev Amalochem Meruba. There's no question that we need now Rachem Shemayim. The meantime, we see Nissan. I mean, what could you say? Nissan. That in Nissan we see unbelievable. There's no question that in Mitzvah Shem, that the schools of our learning Torah. Here we have plenty. I may want to use them all up. There's no question that we're seeing unbelievable nisim, and there's no question that Mitzvah the schools of our limud Torah and our avodas Hashem that's making a matza for the Yidden Eretz Yisrael
And the whole world.
and in the whole world. So someone asked a question. They have the wheat is not so good for them. They have a problem with celiac. And they want to get, you could get in the market oat matza, and you could also, and also someone else asked about spelt matza. Someone asked me about spelt matza this year. It happens to be, we do every year a run on spelt matza. So it's available. But the main people that suffer from celiac really need oat matza. So that's the question. So let's discuss everything. Let's discuss. Let's talk about it. So the bottom line is, a person that has celiac definitely should use oats matzah, and someone that has a difficult time digesting wheat could use spelt. However, there is a thing in Shulchan Aruch saying that there's a hidur in using dafke chita. So if a person could use the kazayis of matzah. So if you can use dafke chita matzah, that'll be best. So let's read it inside. Shulchan Aruch says, "Elu dvarim she'etzem decheves matzah chitim sa'odim kusmin shebay l'shul v'shifen." The Agor says, "V'minig likach l'chetchila chitim." The minig is to take chitim. The Chok Yaakov writes, "L'koyder nida dimein lechitim yikach ipi asay d'shem shnuim b'mishnah." A person that doesn't have chitim should there's 5 grains. and he should best is chitim, not soidim, if not kusmin, so on. Kai gavne kosovatur lekamon simen tof ein gimel gabi morer, that the Mishnah says there's 5 types of morer, and chazeres is the best, morer is the worst. You go, that's our minig is to use chazeres because that's the best. Why is chazeres the best, even though it's not bitter? Because it's this is meramed, because if you left it in the ground for a long time, the bitterness would be unbearable. There was nothing as bitter as chazeres if you leave it in the ground for a long time. And Chazal say the same thing was with Paroi. That first he said, "I'm going to pay you. I'll pay you plus overtime." And then the people worked, and they worked overtime, and they worked with their whole neshama. And then it was, he said, "Okay, that's how much you're going to." Now he knew how much every person could work, and Nebuch for the rest of their life they needed to that for those few days that they got to pay time and a half for working. So you always have to be careful when they try to convince you to work a little hard and they'll pay you a little more. You got to always be careful if this is Paddy's trick. So therefore we use that. The Mishnah says that chazeres is the best type of mortar, and it goes down and down and down. And the horseradish is the least. So if a person has a choice, they should use dafke chazeres. So l'chayda, you would think that by matza, it's also that there's 5 levels of matzah. Aval be'emes ein raya mezu klal. There's no raya at all from this. The Tana Noket can say that I'm mikra v'amuktem beposik. The Tana is just saying the 5 things because he can't say shama v'zocha b'dibarechem. So he's saying the way it's written in the posik, but we don't find the Gemara that matzah, the 5 grains of matzah should be like the 5 minimum order. That there is a totem pole, and that there is something that is better and something that's not as good. Maril doresh ikar mitzvah little chitim. The law mishtamet shum tana belishne ki im chitim lepesach at kan l'shene. Taka the Gra brings it out from several places in Shas and the Babel in Yerushalmi that whenever they talk about Pesach, it's chitim lepesach. Veloika Amar medetana noket chitim bereisha elavada datona noket rak seder amidim miksiv v'deklo, and that's it. The ayin leil betur siman reish has the kusman mechlal min chitim hu. The Tur explains that we see from the Gemara that kusman is really a derivative of chitim. The ubesiman reish yud aleph the chola muktem beposik muktem labrocha, and that's what's negated for that. So we have chitim, and there's the av, and the tul there's kusman, and then you have soidim is the av, and shibayla shul and shifam is a tulda. We were learning the Mishnayos and Psachim in 4th grade. It's 3rd grade, 4th grade, and my father was a Rabbi. My father's a very good Rabbi, and he was his thing. He had this thing about visuals. So we used to go to Apple Drugs at that time. And he used to ask that, and he used to get a bag from each one. Chitas oidim. He used to get wheat and spelt and barley and oats and rye, and he would give everyone. He'd bring 5 cups, and give everyone in a cup a little bit of the grain, so you could put it, so everyone could play with it and feel with it. And that's what he would do. That was a shtick when he.
It's not so clear that oats are at all one of the commissions.
So it's very good, very good. So there is a problem really. How do we know? There is also discussion about spelt. There's oats is a little bit more of a problem. Spelt is less of a problem. I have here, piles and piles of articles on this, but all of a sudden there's a kovetz Guinness v'rodim, kovetz Turanin l'nyona alocha v'agodei talmidei v'chsidei satmet. All of a sudden these guys became experts. They're looking up Wikipedia and looking up all these. So, but there's it's fascinating that there is a tshuva from one of the Sfaradi Poiskim and the Zman of the Chidah that he says we don't have a Kabbalah besides Chitim. We don't know what the other minim are. If Do writes back, I'm fascinated with this. He says Taka, most Sfaradi communities do not have a Kabbalah. He said I traveled all over Ashkenaz, and they befeidish know. And Taka Rashi says that Kusman is spelt. And many other Rishonim say kusman is spelled. And he says that the Ashkenazim they do have a Kabbalah on what the Chameshes mini dogen are.
But why they take so much money? I bought the oat milk for my wife. All box like this, $25.
Yeah, because they could. So that I tell you what, it's interesting. I don't know why, but it's like when the war started with in the Ukraine. Besides Israel, all over the Middle East and in Africa, there was a problem because they weren't getting wheat. Mitnamol, Snazgala, that like Ukraine, it was sort of the breadbasket of the world. I don't know what it is. Could be it's the winter or something. There's something about these European countries that chita grows there very well. Chita, saoidim, kusmin, shabai lashul, chicken grain.
6 meters of fertile ground. For whatever reason, Hashem made it like that. 6 meters. The top, you dig is fertile ground. In America, in New York or in Israel, you dig, and after a while you see rocks. You see something yellow, it's brown.
So it was interesting that the dafke, usually the Sfadim had more available foods, this and that, but the dafke grain, the Ashkenazim had more of a. But the emes is, you're right. There is a discussion about oats. There's less a discussion about because also there's an oruch or something about spelt, but it seems ungenommen that spelt is the
Well, see, because they didn't live in the area, they got confused with various things. Like, for instance, the horseradish, it's clear as day that the horseradish is not cooked, it's not malor at all, even the avad. It doesn't fit into the description. It's a root.
Back to the
I hear what you're saying. Have to be mine. I hear. It's a.
What were you saying about spelt?
Spelt is the second one of the 5 wheats. That's the one that's called kusmin. There is the father is chitim and the son is kusmin, and then you have saoidim and the son is shibai lashul and shifon.
When the Chidos said that the Ashkenazim have a Kabbalah, he was trying to use it as a halacha. Exactly. So like this, if somebody else has a Kabbalah, it's good for us.
Yeah. He was using it that way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's read it till the end. It says he said the last 2 lines here. Here, everyone agree, whatever grain is more precious to you, that should come first, because you should do the mitzvahs matza l'tayovin. We see Chazal very concerned that you should do the mitzvahs matza l'tayovin. That's why Erev Pesach it's also to eat matzah. The minhag olam is not to eat matzah from 2 weeks before Pesach. Minhag Chabad is not to eat matzah from Purim. Ve'efshad ma'hai time menoket gam kematana b'chol mokem chitim lePesach. Shebastama hu chaviv l'roi bnei adam. Notice what he says. Ve'efshad ma'hai time. He says maybe for this reason. The Mishnah Berurah says. Mishum dehu chaviv l'adam b'Yosef ika mishum hidan mitzvah v'mein lechitim yikach lamatas me'echel medalad mina machoshav l'b'Yosef et sheyech l'tiyaven. The Sharat Zion, he says that's in the Chok Yaakov, Chemed Moshe, and Admor Azaken. Okay, so if you asked, I want to talk first about the spelt issue. If you ask the Mishnah Berurah, Mishnah Berurah says that the reason why the Maril said and the Shulchan Aruch said it's a minhag to use chitim is because chitim is more delicious, and that therefore you should use the most delicious grain for. So if you're saying it's more, well, what if to me spelt is more delicious? And befrat spelt is like a min chita, really. It's a derivative of chita.
So why are we talking about the
One second. So if I want to take the most delicious, so to me this is the most delicious. So why don't I have this, which is the most delicious? You're gonna say bottle daitates or kolodam that most people consider the most delicious, the chitim. But the truth is today, I think the l'rov b'nei adam. You go to stores, you see today that they sell breads that are made out of spelt, and it's considered very choshev. I don't see them selling the other 3 grains as choshev bread, but I still see that they're so therefore I think like the Mishnah Berurah, it's clear that you could use the spelt just as good as chitim. What are you asking? Why is it?
Why it's
Mhm.
pashu, it tastes good, but when it
I know. That's what the Welt said.
Come on, how you taste
That only means that after you spent the money in the bakery, that you're an owner.
It's a lie.
That's Lubavitcher way.
The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch says,
That's Lubavitcher way.
"Hamatza shodem chayv lechol b'leiltas vav tzirich elis me'echem v'chameches mini dogim shem chitim u'soirim v'kusim v'shavay l'shol v'shifam u'mitzvah men amufke likach el chatchila u'milchatchila likach chitim l'matzas mitzvah v'lo yechel shor arba minim dogim v'chein aminig v'im ein lechitim yikach mishor mini dogim min achav v'lo v'yoyske t'sheich l'matzah l'teyoven." If you look at the Alter Rebbe's Lashon, and even in the Chok Yaakov, I have no idea why the Mishnah Berurah Tazoy learned. I think he a little glossed over the Lashon Chok Yaakov, the Alter Rebbe. If you look again very clearly, he says, "Mitzvah men amufcher likach lechatchila likach chitim lamatzas mitzvah v'loyechem mishar arba mini dogim." He doesn't say a reason for it. He just says, "V'im ein loy chitim yikach mishar mini dogim minachav v'lov yoyser." I don't know, for some reason the Mishnah Berurah sort of glossed over it and thought that the reason why chitim are more special is because it's more chaviv. That's the reason.
Sounds like that.
A little, no, I don't think.
When you go to the second best, you say that has to be good. So why did I tell you that the first one is
No,
the best?
so why?
It has to be that there was
No,
something similar.
no, that's not the way I read the Alter Rebbe. I'm reading the Alter Rebbe and also the Chok Yaakov. The Chok Yaakov said in the last line, "Ve'efshe the mahai time and noket gamkein atana mechol mokem chitim lepesach v'shemestamu achav l'rebnei adam." He said ve'efshe. He entertained. He in the Chok Yaakov's mind, he entertained that maybe there's another Tan Komos that I don't know about. And same thing in the Alter Rebbe. When he quotes it, he clearly says two separate things. He says, number one, mitzvah men amuvcher l'chatchila likach chitim l'matzas mitzvah v'lo yachim mishor arba minei dogam. And then v'chein minute. And then he says the second thing, v'mein lo chitim. Then he says that you pick achav v'lo v'yoyser. I don't think so. And I'll tell you what, I found that there is a ton of different reasons that are brought. Taka, some of them are a little bit in al pitrush, but there's a sefer that brings that Amos says in Simataf Ein Hey that we have three matzahs zeich lalach metoida. Now the lach metoida must be brought from chitim, so therefore the minig was to make the matzahs from chitim. There is a sefer minig Yisrael Toidehi that says we metaken the chet eitzadas, which is chitoya. There is the Maram Shik. It says in the name of his Rebbe, the Chasam Sofer, that the Gemara says that Soirim Akosha L'Shikra. By matzahs it says L'man Tisker. So the truth is, if you learn like the Tam of the Chasam Sofer, you could still say that there is that the Chitim and the Kusmin are just as good. Because the Gemara says Soirim Akosha L'Shikra. You could say Soirim Asher Boy L'Shul L'Shufan are the same. But the bottom line is that there could be many other reasons why Chazal, the Alter Rebbe says that the Rebbe Marash said, based on the Maimon of the Alter Rebbe, when he eats matzah, he's eating godliness. And the Zoya says the first night of Pesach, it's Michla, the Mehemenusa, and the second night, it's Michla, that's Vosa. When he eats matzah, it gives him Amunah. Begashmis, a eats matzah, and gives him Amunah. So, could be that there's a Tam, Akomus, a Tam Ayadula Yoidei Fein, that heat is the strongest thing. Mamish the Zoya says when and the Rebbe Marash said these words as Ayid Estelakus. Estelakus. We see that the Rebbe tried so hard that and the Rebbe believed that also it's a pasha refuah. The Rebbe used to save matzah and all year. The Rebbe used to save matzah and in the cases the Rebbe gave people matzah. So we see that there could be a tam komus. Why Chazal say in the Shas, whenever they talk about matzahs, they talk about chita. And we don't know why. We don't know why. Chazal didn't say. There could be 25 reasons, and plus time in the Storim. And that's why the Mariel was doidish, and the Ramah said that the chena minig, that better to use chita. So therefore, I think there's no question in my mind that really the best thing is to use chita.
Do we have any source that when we left Mitzrayim, the matzah was chita? So we'd say that was the.
I saw someone at one of these guys. One of these guys. So the answer is there's a few years ago there was a firestorm. There's a matzah bakery in Williamsburg, and they were producing spelt and oat matzahs. And so I push it. This is double sided, and this is like, and there's another curve. So back and forth. And they had a problem with it, as I'll explain in a second. They thought that maybe it's chometz, it's a shuv for them. And Yitzchak, I'll talk about it in a second. But it's one of these guys that wrote an article. So at the end, I don't know who he is. A long article. Reb Shalom Shragefayish Hapalanash. Anyway, Chavar Amareches.
It's a long name.
It's a long name. But anyway, he had a long name, but a long article. But at the end, he had such a beautiful word. He said, there's a sefer, Hori B'Samim, and he says, a pshat, it says, Ahita kusemes loy nuku ka'afilois heima. So the Rashi says, Pile plus nasaloi, that when the Makkah's boat it came, everything got flattened. But we say that the pasuk says, "V'chita kusemes loy nuku ka'afilois heima." The pshat in pshat is
It wasn't
the one second. It was soft, so the butter didn't break it. But the second pshat is that it really was hard, and therefore it should have it should have broke and it should have got smashed by the butter. And the Eibishter made nes betoich nes that the chita and the kusemes should not be ruined. Why did the Eibishter make a nes for no reason? So Gol vidu la Kadosh Baruch Hu sheYisrael yigalu v'yitzrichim l'chitin the pischa v'lchein lo'nuke v'zeh ma shekosav hamedesh pile plus shehizmen HaKadosh Baruch Hu refuah koydem l'maka. That so if this is true, I mean this is whatever. This is one Yid wrote a sefer Hori B'Samim, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Gins.
But we have no medrash that.
No, there's no medrash. But if you learn this way, it's cute. So then you'd say that they ate chitim and also kusmin. The Eibishter made the chitim, but the truth is, Chazal say chitim and kusmin are the same thing. Chitim and kusmin. Chitim is the av and the tul is kusmin, and Sa'odim is the av and Shibal Shul and Shifal the kusmin. Huh?
What does that mean?
Av is the father and the ben is the son. It means that he's the father and the other one is the son.
No.
Yeah.
Hashem did that on purpose. He did that on purpose to make it soft so they could think that it's going to survive. So what did Hashem do afterwards? He used the grasshoppers to devour everything else that was left standing.
But in the meantime, the Yidden had matzahs for Pesach.
They call fitting is the same thing that we call fitting.
They definitely sagen. Otherwise, Chas v'Shalom to say otherwise.
Hmm.
So here's the story. So like I mentioned already, there was a firestorm.
In Goshen didn't get wiped out.
We don't know if there was wheat in Goshen that far.
First of all, who says all the Yidden lived in Goshen? It seems like a lot of Yidden lived far out. That's why Shabbos I spoke about the Medrash that said about the Reach of Pesach needed to go. And the Rashi says that there's a Rashi that says that there was a miracle that all the Yidden came to Goshen that night. So it could be that most of the Yidden lived in Goshen, and there was a lot of Yidden that lived here, there, and everywhere. Bottom line is like this: there's two firestorms that happened. One is a couple of years ago about the bakery in Williamsburg that was producing oat and spelt matza. And then there were people that said, no, these are kaza treif, that these are chometz, that you're not allowed to have it. But before that, that's what I want to tell you. Before that, I found an interesting. There was years ago in Eretz Yisrael, sometime in the 50s, there was a shortage before Pesach of wheat. So there was a chaver of the Bezdin in Yerushalayim, Chacham Rabbi Yaakov Adas, who writes that there was a rov in Petach Tikva that asked the Rabbanut Rashit, and there was a lot in the north. There was a couple of facts that were producing matzah. We're not Heimish matzah. We're talking about sheen matzah, but there's 2 million Jews that eat matzah, and the problem was that they did not have enough. The matzah bakeries did not have enough. So what they had a few shipments of flour from Australia. The problem is that they bleached the wheat and it's bacheskes chometz. So this rabbi, the Rebbe Reuven Katz from Petach Tikva, asked the Rabbanut Rashit in Yerushalayim if they would let him do a trick like this, that they would dilute the chita by flour from Sa'odah. They had plenty of barley. And he says most people will not even, when they'll taste the matzah, most people will not even know the difference. The bakery told them they'll do a run. They tasted the matzah. No one could tell the difference. No one sell the matzah. No one knows the difference. He asked permission. Is aufgestanden der Rab Herzog, Rab Isaac Herzog, whose son is now the president of the state of Israel. So totally, just has the same name, grandson. The same name, David shall help him that he should, Mitzvah Hashem, go in his grandfather's ways. And do whatever his grandfather, have the tkifas of his grandfather. So his grandfather stood up and he said, I'm sorry. He said that there is a Tiferes Yisrael in Mishnayos, in Psochim, where the Mishnah says that there's 5 types of grains. And the Tiferes Yisrael says that Amiril says it's better to use chitim. Why is it better to use chitim? So Tiferes Yisrael says, I'll tell you why. The Gemara says, and there's a whole daf of Gemara in Maseches Psochim, daf mem. The Gemara back and forth. The Gemara talks about bleaching wheat. B'derech klal, when you process wheat, what they do is they wash off, because that cleans the wheat. So they wash it off. The Gemara had back and forth. Some of the Tanoim said that it's osir, because then if you put water over it, the wheat is going to become chametz. And some said it's mutter. At the end of the final analysis, there was a few Mayroim that they said that depends what you're using. If you're using wheat, you're allowed to wash it. And if you're using barley, you're not allowed to. The Gemara says why? Because wheat, the hulk, the shell is complete, and water won't get in. So you wash it, or it's maybe a small. Bottom line is that you wash it and then you grind it right away. And the Gemara even says that if you don't do it, you're a fool, because you're going to end up with dirty matzahs. In other words, we want to have, even though it's lachamoini, but it's a mila to have clean, nice, white wheat for matzah. And no, I don't. Yeah, it's called bleach. Yeah, it's water. So therefore, the bottom line of the Gemara Lahalocha is that you're allowed to, and some Amoraim himself, it's best to wash off the wheat. But if you wash the barley, it's achshash chametz. Now the Goinim came along. The Rambam says the Goinim came along and they said, we don't know. You know what? Let's not wash any wheat for it. That's a brought alok shulchan. However, the Alter Rebbe says that there's a big nafkamina from this. If you found that the achborim, the mice, ate from the chitim, and the saliva of the mice is all over the chitim, so what should you do? First of all, don't call the FDA. Second of all, make sure that it's a miut of the grain is the saliva. Quickly grind it, make flour, and make matzah out of it. Because agam we're machma lechatchila not to wash the wheat, but that's only lechatchila, and it's a minig goinim, and it's not dinah deshas. So big deal. It has a little bit of saliva from the
rodent.
Yeah, what's the big deal? My grandmother, Zayin gesund und stark, she's Baruch Hashem in a very beautiful number in her age. But she tells her children, she has like this thing in her, because for 6 months in her life, she took care of her younger sisters and her younger brother. Because her mother was scared that they'll be taken away to a public school, shkola in Russia. And they were kicked out of the house, and their father was killed, al Kiddush Hashem. And there were squatters as a snoshim in a shul. But the mother was so scared that the kids will be taken away and put into a shkola. So she traveled very far. She had a brother who was a Talmid Chacham, and he got himself a job in a klochos, in a kibbutz, in some far forsaken place. But the goyim were dumb, and they needed someone that could keep a cheshbon. So he made a Shabbos arbetnish. Anyway, they wouldn't know the difference. All his job was to sign the buchhalter, to keep the cheshbonis for the klochos. He was the bookkeeper for the kibbutz. All goyim. He could keep Shabbos. A kibbutz. Kibbutz wasn't started with Ben Gurion. It was started by Mr. Lenin, by Mr. Leibel Trotsky. So he lived on this klochos. And he kept Shabbos and Gesetz and Geler, and all good. So she decided she's going to take 2 of my uncles, Zachariah and Bracha. They should learn by him. But she got there, and there was very primitive people, and there was a lot of mice in the fields. And they had at that time, when my great grandmother came there, they had the rice in bags, but they were full of mice around. So in the rice was full of poop of the mice.
All right.
So she said to her brother, Chaim Meir, how could you live this way? He told me it was the only way he's going to be able to keep Shabbos. So So how do you live this way? So there was no way to like. Didn't have a sifter. The kids they made the rice with the poop. So he got angry. He stood up. He says, "Ich bin ichet arov." And if paskin das is mutter zu essen. The poop of the poop of the mice, das ist nicht außer zu essen. It's a mutter zu essen. So der nehmen nicht the gut. So
probably too.
I'm not sure about that, but no, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. But anyway, he wanted to be able to. They survived.
It was a massive.
So that the Alter Rebbe Taka says because the din is that at Medina de Gemara chita you're allowed to wash, and soida you're not allowed to wash. So quickly go and grind it, and the saliva of the mice is nicht gefährlich, it's nicht contaminated. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't tell your customers about it. However, don't put it on the screen.
Not tell the women.
No, don't tell the women about it. So
And that's the Williamsburg.
so back 1 second. We're getting to Williamsburg in a second. We have to finish with Petach Tikva. So I don't know. It's not noticeable, but you realize that the Kenzan. I don't know. That's the halacha. You look in the Alter Rebbe Shechanor. It's Taf Nun Gimel Tzivches. So the Rav Herzl got up and he said, "There's a Tiferes Yisrael in the Mishnayos that says that from this Gemara we learn that Sa'odim barley gets chametzik much more easily." So that's why the Maril said it's a mitzvah menamuvcher to use chitim, because chitim it's much harder for the chitim to become chametzik. So Lepoil, this is a kovetz.
I should have been able to use it because the chicken came from Australia and
No, but you don't know they're washed and they come from Goyim. They come from Australia. Rabbi Herzog said, "Loy veloy." Can't use the Australian. Well, not even but still, well, not shmona, but still, he insisted that it's a tshuva written by Rav Yehuda Adas, and he doesn't. It's a ksav yad. It's a kovetz l'zeich nishmas Rav Herzog. They don't say the end of the story. This is not a story book. I'm just telling you. Oh, so Shiloh's how does it with spell? But I'm just telling you the story. The story was that Rabbi Katz wanted to what was available then was they had chita, not enough, and so he wanted to mix. Rabbi Herzog insisted that no, you can't use the Australian because Hashkim say you can't use the soda because I'm not sure how to use the soda. What was the end of the story? Anyway, story in Williamsburg, Vesach. So a couple of years ago in Williamsburg, there was there's a bakery that's producing special matzah that are made out of spelt and also special matzah made out of oats. So came along people and they said that this is Kametz Gomer. Why? So they said there is a tshuva from the Marsham that the Minchas Yitzchak brings. Minchas Yitzchak was asked about people that have celiac if they could use oat matzah, and the Minchas Yitzchak brings that as a Marsham. So in other words, there's two great minds that thought alike, Tiferes Yisrael and the Marsham. Rav Herzog knew of the Tiferes Yisrael and the Minchas Yitzchak knew about the Marsham, but everyone's going to the same place, to the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Mem, and saying that, hey, Soidim at the lotion of the Minchas Yitzchak was, if you want to make matzah from Soidim, from barley, you would have to write a totally new Shulchan Aruch how to make that matzah. So therefore, and some say that the Baal Peh, he told people, there's some chloikas as a Baal Peh, what he said. Some say that he said that people that have celiac, they should just use a kazayis of oat matzah and that's it. And others say that he said Baal Peh, better not even to eat matzah, which is very, very strong, very, very strong. Now, one thing has to be made very clear, that that spelt is totally now not part of this problem that the Minchas Yitzchak is talking about and the Rabbi Herzog is talking about, because spelt is really a derivative of chita.
Yeah.
It's not in the family of soida. There's, as I said before, there's chita, wheat, and spelt, and then there is barley, oats, and rye. They're totally different families. Like we see in Hilchos Chala,
It's 4 different fathers.
there is chita and spelt. There is wheat and spelt, and then there is barley, oats, and rye. So there's 2 families. So right, exactly. So the people,
Father, which is the father for the second family?
the father of the is a barley. So therefore, The spelt is b'chlal not part of the problem. One second. Spelt. 1 second. The spelt is b'chlal not part of the problem because you have chita and kusmin, chitim v'kusemes loy nuku. So they are not part of the problem because they're not part of this question. They're not in the family of sa'odim. The question is about sa'odim, barley, oats, and rye. The problem is that the people that have celiac issue, the best matzah that's available today is matzah that they made out of oats. So they say that the Minchas Yitzchak said it's just one kazayis, and others say he said balpeh not to use the matzah altogether. Yeah, what do you want to say?
It's like you have different kind of mint, spearmint, and this. It's like different kinds of mint. It's very similar. Is that kind of what we're saying?
Different kinds of grain, yes. There's different kinds. Within each one of these kinds, there's like a ton of kinds.
Where are they supposed to eat? Somebody has to eat
Potatoes.
Oh, so after the kazayis matzah,
Potatoes.
The
The rest of Pesach, eat potatoes and apples.
Potatoes and
Potatoes and eggs and apples, and that's it. Bottom line, by the way, there's some achronim that say that they have a trick that they had to take gluten out of the pita. But they say that the Chazal say, right. But they say it's not good. Why? Because Chazal said that these 5 grains, when you put water, they could become chametz. And when you guard it and you bake it quick enough, then it's matzah. But the Chazal said the other grains, they don't become chametz, they become sirchel. But they never become chametz is only the 5 grains. So the Zacharanim that say, if you took the gluten out of the wheat, so mehechi teisi now that this is matzah chita sheyochel lav l'dei chimutz. So bottom line is, I want to say this something very simple. I don't. If you look at the simple Lashon Dal Rebbe and the Shulchan Aruch, it's very hard to read the way the Mashama Teferes Yisrael said. I'm sorry. It's very, very, when the Alter Rebbe says that there's 5 grains that are kosher. And then the Alter Rebbe says, mitzvah min ha-mufcher to take chitim. It totally doesn't sound that if you made matzah from oats, that there's a problem with it. It totally doesn't sound from the Lashon the Alter Rebbe. It says, mitzvah min ha-mufcher lechatchila. It's so hard to learn that in the Alter Rebbe. And the Shulchan Aruch also is a similar Lashon, but the Alter Rebbe is so strong. The Alter Rebbe says that a matzah she'adam chayav lechel b'leil tazvav tzirich echad mechameshes minei dagim. Mitzvah min ha-mufcher lechatchila lika chitim l'matzas v'lechem misharm. It's so hard to say. Bottom line is, anyone that has a problem with celiac should eat oat matzah. They can eat it the whole Pesach. It's not a problem. A person that just has a problem a little bit with digestion, because especially today, there are people that all year they're not eating that much chita, they're not eating that much wheat. So whatever, be it as it may, it comes Pesach and they get sick, push it. And some people say, so why shouldn't they use spelt matzah? If a person could, if they like to eat spelt matzah, and they would just eat the kazayis matzah balal Pesach from chita, I would say that's the right way to do. Because we don't know why the hider mitzvah, but it seems to be a hider mitzvah. So the bottom line is, if you ask the mash from both, if you ask the masham, he would say chita and soida is just as good. Chita and spelt, wheat and spelt is just as good. And if you ask the Mishnah Berurah, wheat and spelt is also just as good because it's to you choshev. So, but still, I would say to be a little more machmel lechatchila, and if you could use chita, wheat, for the kazayis and matzah, you choose that. That's the one end.
Can a celiac eat spelt?
No, not really. No.
So,
I'm not talking about celiac person. I'm summarizing the whole thing. I'm not talking about a person that's celiac. There are people that feel that their system agrees with spelt and disagrees with wheat. Yeah, not celiac people. So I'm saying, so those people, if you ask the Mishnah Berurah, it sounds like that even for the kazayis matzah b'leil Pesach, spelt is just as good. And if you ask the masham, who said the problem was sa'odim, but chitim is good, so spelt is just as good. But it sounds from the Lashon Mariel Dal Rebbe that for whatever it is, the chitim are the best. So if you could eat chitim for the kazayis, you should eat chitim. On the other hand, the person that does have celiac, I think should use oats matzah.
No, but also not necessarily at all.
So here's the only problem. Problem is that the shaila is that oats, if oats is takesh, oil shul or shifon. I'm going to leave it open at this time. I want to just at this time on the clock is moving. Two questions that I got this week that very interesting. A person asked me that he sells vitamins and it's filled the order by Amazon. Now a lot of the vitamins have kidneys in it, so they're kosher, but they're not kosher Pesach. So shaila is, could he have? And it's so he would rather not deal with the problem and let Amazon sell it on Pesach. So the answer is like this. The answer is like this.
He try to give over the business.
So let me read it to you on the outside and out to them. Look in base. Let's read it inside. It says, I want to first say the Shulchan Aruch and Alter Rebbe. Yeah. That there is a minhag that we by Ashkenazim, not by Sfardim. By Ashkenazim, there's a minhag not to eat oides and doichen, pulim, vadoshim, v'shumshim, and v'shom in the kids afilu b'yot v'achinam, v'shobederes achran and robba ami oret shenem bekim bisavet. Im yirish oichlim b'pesach tafshel shemini kitnius yitu lahat legam ken tafshel shemini dogen. However, chalashona derech latzas tafshel lemini kitnius k'moshe derech lemini dogen. Yidma beineim shedinim shavim b'pesach lefikach nogu leser akoil. These Amaratzim, they don't know a difference. They say, you're eating porridge. Oh, they're not realizing that the porridge you're eating is Schwarze Kasche, Griekene Kasche, that it's buckwheat. You're cooking for breakfast, wolf's buckwheat. But the Amoritz is looking, he sees there's a spoon, you have a bowl, there's a spoon, you took a little milk, you put a little butter, you put a little sugar, you mixed it, and you're eating. He comes home and he says, Yentelek, let's make something delicious. And he takes farina and he starts cooking it. He says, Yankel, what's this? The chametz. He says, no, look, I was in the rabbi's house. And it's the chaychet kasha. If the Rebbe can eat kasha, why can't we eat kasha?
It's good kasha.
It's a good kasha. So therefore, very good, very good. So therefore, the Ashkenazim said, you know what? Exactly. Nada. We're not eating kasha.
We're not such a moratzim.
The Svardim were not such a maratzim.
I
Exactly.
have a question. If you go to the rabbi's house and he has a pizza made from flour of cauliflower, the Amoritz could say the same thing.
So
Maybe nowadays you shouldn't.
I hear. ואפילו במקטניס לא נוגע לישראל אכילה. אם נופלו עליהם מים בנשקי יוצא בזה, והם מן הדוגן עשו מקר הדין, אבל מותר להונס בהם בפסח, וכן מותר להדלק בשמונים ונעשו בהם. You're allowed to use a noah from the shemen. אבל השמונים שאינם נעשו מן הקיטניס מותר אפילו באכילה, ואפילו על השולחן שאיכל מהשם שם ייפול מהשם על התוך התפשל. שאף אם ייפול לתוך מעט שמן, הרי מזבטל בתוך ברוב, כיוון שמנהג איסור זה אין אלא חומרה ביעלמא. So the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe says, before I go back to my question, there was a firestorm about 60, 70 years ago in Eretz Yisrael. It was a time of very much need in Israel, and there was a company that was able to easily produce oil from sesame oil. So the problem is, it's much cheaper. It was much cheaper than the olive oil. Shaila is that sesame might be kidneys. So they said that the sesames are kidneys, but the oil is mutter. It was it was back and forth. That firestorm was 10 times bigger than the firestorm a couple of years ago at the Matza Bakery in Williamsburg. Because there are those emesis from the Alter Rebbe's mashma that you're allowed to have a noah from kidneys. So if you make oil, if you take the sesames, you make oil, you're allowed to have a noah and use that oil to put in the candle, but you're not allowed to consume it unless it becomes bottle and it's bottle beroiv. So now let's go to this person that has this stuff, the vitamins at Amazon. So there's a little bit of kidneys in there. Probably it's bottle beroiv. Now, if it's not bottle beroiv, you're allowed to have a noah from it and Pesach. You're not allowed to be machshel a Jew. You're not allowed to give a Jew something in his hand and he thinks it's kosher. Really, it's not kosher. But more than that, today everyone in America knows when you buy a product in Pesach, if it doesn't say OUP, it's a nish kosher Pesach. So what are you talking? Who's going to buy? Who's going to be nirshal here? If it's a Jew that's trying to keep Pesach, he's going to buy the vitamin. He's going to look at the package. He's allowed to own it. You're allowed to have a noah. You're allowed to own it. So what's the problem? He's going to get the delivery. He's going to look at the package. It says OU or it says whatever hechsher, CHK, but it doesn't say kosher la Pesach. So he'll put it in the shelf and he won't eat it. So what's the problem? You're allowed to be nana. You're allowed to have sales. The shaila really is people that have orders with Amazon that are real chametz. So the Erle Chayid must put a stop to that. Because to say that I sold it to the goy and this is and all the profits are going to go to a goy, you're making a joke from the sale. So if you have any products with Amazon, which are kitniyas or a chashash kitniyas, and maybe it's even bottle beroiv, I think there's zero problem. You don't have to. But if you have,
eating pills is a feeling.
anyway, it's shaloi derech hachanos. There's 10 reasons to say it's even mutter. But you know what? It's for sure. Lamahadrin mina mahadrin. You're allowed to sell these products on Pesach. But if you have chametz, you're selling pretzels with them. You're selling pretzels with them. Say, oh, I sold it, and then you're making a joke out of your sale of chametz. So therefore, you should definitely put a hold on it. People are always asking about when they're traveling away for Pesach. Why is it contemporary shaila and halacha? Because till a couple of years ago came with Nish Gevus. The heim loy, with Nish Gevus, the mageta weg from the heim. So, but the bottom line is that Chazal were concerned that a person should have azman kavua to do bittul chametz. That's why Shulchan Aruch says because Yisrael Madarshim Hilchas Pesach Shloshim Yom Koydem Achag. So if you're going to go away for Pesach and you leave the house within 30 days before Pesach, you have to buy the chametz without a bracha, and then you're mevatel the chametz. Why didn't they rely on the bittul chametz b'shas you're burning? Because our minig is to burn it before the zman of Isur, but originally people would burn the chametz when it's already also bano, and then you can't be mevatel the chametz. So the bottom line is that's why the Chachamim made it should be by night, and we don't change it, and we mevatel twice, once by night when we finish the bedika, once by day when we burn it. So therefore, like this. The thing is like this. Most people that are traveling today are also going to a place where they're going to have a room at least. And if they're staying someone, they can ask Rishus that room should be their room, or they're staying in a hotel, the glatas, they don't have to ask Rishus, it belongs to them. So you could sell your house lock, stock, and barrel. And whenever you come to the place where you come, that's your room, and that's where you do bedikas chametz. Chazal want they're bent on having a person doing bedikas chametz because they want, besides the fact that, now you have a schus, you're doing Chacham told you, so you can make a bracha, it can be boidik, but that wasn't the whole thing. Chazal wanted even shloshim yom koydem achag because they wanted the whole thing to happen. So at the end, when you finish the bedika, you make a declaration of bittul. Even today, when it's a person could say, "But I already sold my chametz," but whatever Chazal said doesn't. Aval bi shabbat latam loy bot lagzeda. So therefore, if a person's not going to have their own place, so before they leave, they have to do b'dikas chametz, and then mimavatel the chametz, and they don't make a bracha. But if you're going to be in the night of b'dikas chametz in a place, and you're going to have your own apartment, your own room, then you could sell your house lock, stock, and barrel, and wherever you come, you'll do b'dikas chametz with a bracha. The Rebbe Zagoda says, when the Alter Rebbe came back from the Magid, and he had only one room, because he lived in his father-in-law's house, he had one room, and it took him, B'dikas Chametz took him a whole night. In the morning, he had an epiphany. He gesagt, HaToyre, Echod, Yud Gimel is Gematria, Echod, and all of a sudden it gets geleuchten. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe was busy getting rid of not only the 10 crumbs, but he was busy getting rid of some other type of chametz. There's another type of chametz. That's why we take 10 chametz. Why we have 10 psisim? Oh, everyone asks, why 10? Why not 17 psisim? So the Rebbe brings it. The Mishnah says that matza es tziburim chametz. It's a lashon chazal, but there's a zoya. The zoya says that when they take the korban pesach. That they should take it. The lashon pasuk is not on the 10th day, on day 10. So the Zohar says that a person has to purify all their 10 midos, and then they can bring the korban pesach. So the esep system is there's 10 koiches nefesh l'kis and 10 koiches and nefesh abahamis. So we have to find all the 10 koiches of nefesh abahamis in order to put into a bag, to tie it up, and then to burn it. So it took a whole night. David shall help and take. We should get rid of all our chametz. And was Laran bringing the matzah. Was having a kosher freilich and pesach. Definitely.
Amen.
If you have any extra wicks left over from your menorah, put it in also.
Rabbi, you know that chametz and chamas are very similar words.
Yeah, we have to burn them together.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Can't be alone.
Come
Come one sec. I'm coming.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Very good.
Yeah.
Team.
Yeah.
That was very good.
They're different.
Very good. Guys, have some.
Sure.
Anybody?
She should be some comments on. Drive is no. Drive 8 is 1 and 2. 5 is 1 and 2. If you have